I would say that the first thing for me is that I'm very interested in telling the story, and so obviously Messiah is full of just chock full of great arias and choruses that everyone knows and et cetera. But for me, learning the score, I've played it many times, and I started conducting it about 5 years ago. And when I first started learning the score as a conductor, the first question I had in my mind is, how do I tell the story? The entire Messiah oratorio is about 2 hours of music, which is really a lot of music. It's rarely done in its full version, in part because it's separated into the Christmas portion, the Easter portion, and then sort of a reflective portion as the third part. So what I've done is I've sort of tweaked the second and third parts to create a second part so that it really tells the story of the Christmas portion of the story, and then just a bit about the resurrection, and then on to the sort of reflection of the role of the Messiah. And so I view it not only as these great hip tunes, but really as us telling a story over the course of 2 hours. And for me, that's what really brings the drama out in Handel's music, and really sort of gives the audience an arc over the course of that 2 hours of listening to this great music.
If this were some 19th century opera, you'd emphasize perhaps the color. You're emphasizing the story on the one hand by your assembling of the pieces, but what do you bring out of this score when you're conducting?
Well, that's a really good question, and I think color is of utmost importance because this music is very stylistic, and so the idea is that it should have a certain buoyancy. Baroque music has a certain buoyancy. There's a definite hierarchy in Baroque music, just in terms of how the notes fit together. That there's always a strong pulse and a weak pulse, and when you get that strong pulse, weak pulse aspect set up, it creates a real buoyancy in the music that almost makes the music feel dance-like. And this quality of sort of back and forth, this undulation of the strong, weak, really helps create sort of a pulse in the music, even different from just the beat, but an actual sort of breathing aspect to the music, which I love. And so what ends up happening in preparation for this is that I'll work with musicians because we spend a lot of time sort of evening out that pulse in romantic music. And so what I try to do in the Messiah is to sort of go back to that uneven quality. In fact, in music we even call it inegal, which means unequal. And so that's exactly the perspective that I'll take in preparing this piece.
I've heard performances where exactly what you're talking about takes place. There's a buoyancy there. There's that Italian lightness to it that we lost somewhere along the line with all these turgid arrangements back in the early 19th century.
Well, there was a tradition to romanticize everything in the Romantic period. The 19th century was one of those periods where it was, how can we make it sound like us?
And
so
bigger.
I think yeah, exactly. And bigger is better. In the 20th and 21st century, I think there's a real move afoot, and there has been for quite a while now, to let music stand the way it was designed to be. That is, there's enough space to have Baroque music, classical music, Romantic, and modern, all sort of next to each other in their own styles. And I love that versatility and that flexibility. That's what's exciting to me about music, is not making it all sound the same or homogeneous, but how can you get the essence of what the composer was trying to say. I mean, I feel like that's my role with the singers and with the instrumentalists, is how do I help them? How do we achieve getting to what Handel was really trying to accomplish?
Yes, exactly. And I think the 20th century, the revival movement of the proper Baroque techniques really helped bring this music to light and really helped, I guess, make it more alive.
I think that's exactly right. In part, my preparation for this, we'll be playing, of course, modern instruments, but in part, my preparation includes listening to original instrument recordings of this piece, just to hear how the instruments that were around in Handel's day achieved the sounds and effects that they achieve. And a lot of it has to do with the physics of the instrument being slightly different. And that really does change how you view the music. It's really exciting, and it's extraordinary. And I'll tell you the other thing about this is that Handel really is exquisite at being able to change on a dime. So you'll have one sort of idea going along, and all of a sudden that'll change immediately. And it's his word painting, his ability to describe music and describe the story and sound is really, really extraordinary.
Mm. Yeah, for all that this is just an oratorio, that is not staged, it really is a dramatic piece of music.
That's I couldn't agree with you more, and I think that bringing out that drama and understanding that drama is key to the success of that piece.